That ends really abruptly. I cannot hear you.
Some of those chicks
There
can
it is.
chuck it, man.
Yeah, they can. It kind of makes me jealous.
Yeah. Some of them, I was wondering if it's like dudes in drag. Because I can't bring myself to believe a girl could throw like that.
It's very possible. Or it's like those special Nerf balls that look exactly like footballs, but
right.
original ones. But
even some of them, like their mechanics, they're like look like they knew what they were doing.
Got a good form. And we're talking about their throwing form.
Of course.
Well, we're live today to talk about the Libertarian Mises Caucus and the Senator-to-be Blake Masters. Just kidding. I hope we have watchers that are like, he just said a bunch of words and I don't know.
Where is the leave studio button here? I could not possibly care less about that.
I did share on Twitter that I was live with Real King Pilled and Justin. Obviously, those who are watching see that Justin's not here yet, but
he will be.
We do get like a few watchers that come in and are like, "Oh, they're going to talk politics," and then we start when we start talking football, the views go from 5 to 3 to 1. We got that one.
We love that one loyal listener. We were just talking about all of our viewers and subscribers that we have, and yeah. I told Mark, I'm like, I hadn't even thought about it. I don't do this for the audience. I just do this because it's fun to get together with some guys and just talk football.
Talk that old sports ball.
Holy
so
crap.
I put the Seahawks stadium as our background today because you had the best win of the weekend.
Yeah, that was a good game.
People who contribute to this show.
That was the second game this year of theirs that I've been able to watch because I was up in Seattle. I just realized the Eagles and Texans for the Thursday night game, the Eagles are favored by 13.5 points in Houston.
Wow.
They're favored by 2 touchdowns on the road. I wonder if that's ever happened before.
And like I would take the Eagles too.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense at the same time.
I might take them to cover that spread. That's crazy.
You have any takeaways from the Sea Chickens and the Giants game?
Well, actually, you know what? I had a couple of stats that I'd stashed away here that I was going to pull up.
While you're pulling that up, I did hear a theory over the week. I think the last 2 weeks we talked about like the low scoring year that is occurring this year. I heard another theory, and I heard it from my cousin who heard it from a podcast, and obviously it wasn't our podcast, but I don't know whose it was, so I don't know who to attribute this to. But apparently a lot of your like more athletic and skilled, like thick guys want to play on the defensive line over the offensive line now. And so you've seen like, especially because of stats, and I mean, offensive linemen are drafted high too, but I think you might see more defensive linemen getting drafted higher than offensive linemen. So kind of like those two things together have led to like big guys all wanting to play on the defensive line, and you don't have the athletic and like bulldozing offensive linemen anymore.
That actually is a really interesting point then. So like the crazy freak athletes are defaulting to the defensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So defense is winning out over offense. So then you wonder if there's going to be a kind of a flip back at some point, because for a while it was the other way around. The defensive guys were kind of, they optimized for like quick, fast pass rushers and smaller guys on the outside. And then you just would have like the big, who was the guy who played for the Packers? It was a defensive lineman, like a nose tackle for the Packers that was like 6 feet tall and like 400 pounds. He was just an absolute tank of a man, but like he didn't move that fast. I guess then you had like the Vince Wilfork, who's actually pretty quick for his size. Yeah, that's an interesting thought, because I'd imagine that eventually you're going to get like like the Jordan Davises of the world, speaking of the Eagles, guy's gigantic and he's incredibly quick and fast. But eventually you're going to get a kind of a reversion back the other direction because people are going to start. There was BJ Raji. There was another guy before him. I can't remember who it was. I'm thinking this is probably like early 2000s, maybe late 90s. But you'll probably eventually, the offensive linemen who are the exceptions, who are the big, gigantic freaks of nature, will get paid so well that they'll end up being a flip back the other direction, and you'll get more and more of them. And then that's what's fascinating about sports is that it's never the same. Like it's the same game, but the game within the game is changing all the time. So you can watch for years and just watch all the different flows and trends and things change back and forth. And now the game is very different than it was even 2 or 3 years ago. Now there's way more running. You're getting this big influx of running quarterbacks now that they're actually starting to find a place for them in the league. And defensive scheming has changed. There's a big rise in cover 2 again, back from like the early 2000s. And those things go hand in hand. The cover 2 is better for stopping the pass, but it's not as good against the run. So the run is coming back. And it's just fun to watch all these different trends and see how the league progresses. I'm going to see if I can look this guy's name up, and then we'll get back to the Seahawks.
Yeah, apparently the first Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Giants like made a big difference in like how GMs like wanted to construct their team, because obviously the Patriots that year, it's just an offensive, just they scored at will seemingly, but then they get in the Super Bowl and Brady has no time to pass whatsoever. And the Giants won that Super Bowl based off of their defensive line. I remember in their pass rush, like they didn't even have a good secondary. And I was thinking going into that game, like Brady and Moss and Welker and them, tear them up. But the final was 17-14. Like I said, Brady had like no time.
Let's see. There was Gilbert Brown, but I don't think that's who I was thinking of. Gilbert Brown was gigantic.
You got Sue.
Ndamukong Suh from Oregon, because of course a guy named Ndamukong Suh is from Oregon. Oh, anyways, I'm sure this is just fascinating to watch. So for the Seahawks here, there's 2 stats that I saw. So after the game, Seattle has climbed to 6th in overall DVOA. And just so it's clear, DVOA is opponent adjusted. So it takes into consideration the fact that one team may have had a really easy schedule, one team may have had a harder schedule. It adjusts for those things because it's trying to create a statistic that's been fully adjusted and weighted to account for everything possible, so you can get a straight comparison between teams. So they're close to becoming only the 2nd team in the NFL with top 10 DVOA rankings in offense, where they're 6th, defense, where they're 12th, and special teams, where they're 9th. Buffalo is the only other team to do it so far this season. So it's fascinating that the defense is now at like 12th, and that takes into consideration the first part of the season where they weren't good. So it highlights just how good they've been for the last 3 weeks. And specifically, that was the other tweet here. So 3 weeks ago, the Seahawks were 31st in defensive DVOA. So weeks 1 to 5, they had 13.5%. So with DVOA, lower is better for defense, higher is better for offense. So they had 13.5% DVOA, positive 13.5%, which was 30th in the league. That was through the first 5 weeks of the season. And then weeks 7 to 8, they've been minus 31.3%, which is first in the league. So they've been the best defense in the league, opponent adjusted, over the last 3 games. Now
is that pretty typical? Like, what's a average, I guess?
For a season, just for context here, let's say I gotta sign in. sign in, and we'll take, just for comparison, let's take the 2013 Seahawks defense. So that was the big Legion of Boom season. Yeah. Their total DVOA for the season defensive was minus 25.1%. So
you said minus 32?
Minus 32 almost is where they're at right now. So the Seahawks of the last 3 games have played better than the Legion of Boom Seahawks. That, of course, was over the course of an entire season. Yeah. But so go back to this tweet. So here's some other teams. If you look at the first 3 weeks versus the last 3 weeks for the Jets, weeks 1 to 3, they were 12.9% DVOA, 27th in the league. Weeks 4 to 8, they've been minus 17.0%, which is 3rd. Then the opposite of the Seahawks defense is the Tampa defense. Weeks 1 to 5, Tampa was minus 25.1% or first place. Weeks 6 to 8, 23.4% or 29th place.
Yikes. And it's not like the offense is helping them out any.
Right. So with the Seahawks, they had changed after the Taysom Hill game. They changed up their defensive scheming. Essentially, what they started doing is playing. They started playing way fewer 3-man fronts, and they basically eliminated. They were running, I think, like a 4-2-5 nickel really often, and they've started running a lot more of a 3-3-5 nickel. And that's been one of the things they've changed. It's made a huge difference. There was a bunch of people that I follow that were specifically saying, like, here's some things the Seahawks need to do to clean their shit up. And they started doing that, and they've cleaned their shit up. So
I know they've cycled through offensive coordinators since Pete's been there, and Pete's kind of like the D coordinator anyways, but who's been the defensive coordinator under his tenure there?
There's been several, like you said. I just get completely spaced on who their current one is.
So it hasn't.
Clint Hurt. That's right, Clint Hurt. So okay. He was the defensive line coach for a long time, and he took over for Ken Norton Jr., who had been there for several years. Then over the last 2 seasons, Pete has actually been completely changing up his scheme tendencies altogether. And he's been moving away from the more 4-3 style, Tampa 2 style offense and more toward, but with he does like a cover 3 variant on it. He's been moving more toward a Vic Fangio style 3-4. They've been doing that for the last 2 seasons. So this last offseason, they signed or hired 2 different defensive coaches who Sean Desai and Carl Scott. And they both came, I think Carl Scott might have come from Minnesota, if I remember right, where he played under Mike Zimmer, who ran a similar scheme. He was the Vikings defensive backs coach in 2021. Prior to that, he was the Alabama defensive backs coach. So it's actually Nick Saban runs kind of a similar scheme as well.
Yeah.
And then Sean Desai came over from Chicago, where he was, let me see what his role was. He was the defensive coordinator for Chicago in 2021, and he was the safeties coach before that. So he's played under, or he's coached under Chuck Pagano. He's another kind of from that 3-4 Vic Fangio school. So they've got it's been interesting that they say that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but Pete has been pretty adaptable throughout.
He's a pretty old dog too.
Yeah.
Well, we referenced the Ravens. Well, we referenced not the Ravens, the Buccaneers, but I'm done trying to cope my way through this season with the Bucs. I'm done picking them. I'm like this. There's got to be a week where things maybe not even click on offense, but look at least competent because you have Brady, you have Evans, Fournette, but it's just, I mean, they had one good-looking drive, both at the beginning and at the end of the game last Thursday, and that everything in between was what we've been seeing all year long. Was just garbage. And then obviously, the day after that, the news drops that the divorce is official or whatever. So it seems like a real perfect timing to put that piece out there.
So then, do you think, as a Tom Brady fan, do you think that he is likely, with the divorce behind him, do you think that he's likely to play better or worse going forward?
I think he's going to play better going forward, but that could be more cope coming from me. But I don't know. I wouldn't bet money on it, but I will bet that he does play better.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the guy didn't get to where he was without being very keenly in touch with himself, in touch with his body and understanding his capability and stuff. He doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to fall off a cliff and not realize it. So my guess is that the reason that he's played poorly, the reason why the whole team just hasn't been great, is because there's been a funk and there's kind of a cloud hanging over him with this, and getting it out of his head. It would just be the most archetypal Tom Brady thing to rope-a-dope everyone for the first half of a season and then go on an absolute tear in the second half. And I mean, the NFC is ripe for the picking. So he wouldn't even have to be 2007 Tom Brady to make a dent.
Yeah, no, for sure. And this is kind of going off on a different trail here, but I did get into an argument over the weekend about Tom, quote unquote, choosing football over his family. And it could be because I look through this with Tom Brady colored glasses, but I don't necessarily like that binary. Number one, like she knows, or she should know, that he's going to retire and is not necessarily going to be happy Tom Brady at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's going to be grumpy Tom because he wants to be out on the football field.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, there's an even shorter shelf life for women models. Like Gisele's still hot, but if she was in her mid to late 20s and at the peak of her modeling career, and if the shoe were on the other foot, in this gynocentric world that we live in, I doubt we would be talking about Gisele choosing career over her family if the situations were flipped.
That's a good point. It would be the default. It would be the assumption that she was going to.
So I get a little pissy when I hear that binary thrown out there, but
yeah, I mean, I can't think of any other situation really where you would be having a conversation about criticizing a guy for wanting to keep working, and you don't really get a guy who's like, oh yeah, he won't just stop working. He just keeps working and earning money, and he won't just abandon his job. Why doesn't he just abandon his job already? It's like, what?
Yeah. He's 45. Like, God didn't create men to retire from working at 45.
Right. Justin, quit sniping from the peanut seconds. Gallery and get on the damn show.
For real. But that's all I got on the Bucks and the mess that they are.
Yeah, they're not pretty. They've gotten to my like you said, they're in my I'm not going to pick them until they win. Just each week, I think they as far as I'm concerned, they're a bad team. I don't think they need to be a bad team, but they are a bad team right now. So, who are they playing this week?
Interesting matchup this week. So it's the past two Super Bowl winners. They play in the Rams. And
that's right.
Things are bad in Tampa, but
they're not as bad as they are in Los Angeles. Yeah. Oh man, that's going to be an interesting game. So it's at Tampa. Well, God damn it. Now, right after I went and said that I'm not going to pick them.
I'll probably pick them too.
Now I'll have to pick them because two bad teams take the home team.
Take the home team.
Maybe I'll just switch it up and no. I can't.
Can't go against your rule.
No, especially not with a matchup like this with the Tampa defensive line. Again, granted, Tampa Bay's defense has been terrible, as we just saw the stats for the last few weeks, but the Rams offensive line is just an absolute dumpster fire. And I can't see Tampa not sacking Matt Ryan at least 4 or 5 times. Or Matt Stafford.
I shook my head, yes. Like, yeah. Yep.
That's the line. So Tampa's favored by 3 at home. So they're basically saying that it's a push on neutral territory, which seems about right. Put the over-under at 42.5. I don't know. Are these two offenses competent enough right now to put up 42.5 points combined? I guess they just put up 22 on the Ravens.
Yeah. The Rams looked okay the first quarter of that game, and then they garbage the rest of the game. I keep seeing who's the running back that keeps getting rumored to LA. I can't remember who it is. There's a running back who keeps getting rumored to be traded there because they could use help in the backfield, or this is the reasoning. But like Cam Akers he's a talented back. He's certainly inconsistent, but I don't know if any running back's going to help out that offensive line.
Yeah, no, the problem with Akers is that he hasn't really recovered fully from his Achilles, and it seems like he's just completely on the outs with the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the trade deadline just passed, so I don't know what's going to happen now. But
did
from
it
the
pass?
sound of it,
I didn't know. Was that?
Yeah, it just passed on Tuesday.
Okay.
And rumor has it that the Rams offered 2 first-round picks and Cam Akers to the Panthers for Brian Burns, the Panthers pass rusher. Okay. And the Panthers turned it down, which I think is insane. I don't think there's very many players, non-quarterbacks, who are worth turning down a 2 first-round pick plus a player offer for a rebuilding team like that.
Yeah. And I was certain they were tanking anyways. And
maybe they're not.
They beat the Bucs and they're like, oh, okay. And then they almost beat the Falcons on a nice Hail Mary play at the end of the game.
Right. And that division is completely up for grabs. Yeah. So
PJ Walker was dropping dimes.
Yeah, that throw he made. Okay. First of all, we need to talk about this stupid celebration.
It was a garbage penalty. Yeah.
Like, why does the NFL insist upon penalizing celebrations of any kind for any reason whatsoever? There's no rationale for it whatsoever. If the one justification I can think of is you're taking too much time and you're delaying the game, and there's already a fucking penalty for that. It's called delay a game. So, like, if you're delaying the restart of the game, like maybe you have a 15-second clock to do your celebration. And if you're delaying the restart, then you get a delay a game penalty. But, like, can't take your helmet off on the field is a retarded rule in the first place. He wasn't on the field.
He wasn't on the field, yeah.
It's a dead ball. Like, if someone called a timeout, he could take his helmet off. So it's, like, triply stupid because it's he's off the field. It's a dead ball, and the rule is stupid in the first place. All of those things together, it's just I don't understand why the NFL insists on policing these types of things. These, like, remember a couple of years ago where you like couldn't do a celebration with a group of people? Like if there was more than one person in it, you'd get. Who comes up with this shit? Like, what person thinks this is what the game is missing? We need to start penalizing the fucking celebrations. What's your take, Justin?
Yeah, I saw that clip. I know what you're talking about. Catching you on the tail end. I was trying to. Mark almost brought me in too soon. I was trying to mute you as I was sitting down, so I wasn't missing. So I remember when that first started to become a thing. It was early 2000. I think my senior year was the first year that we were not allowed to do any sort of celebration at all on the field. and it's just gotten progressively worse since then. Like at first it was just like, okay, like, don't spike the football when you get to the end zone and, make a big scene or whatever. And now it's become like, don't do anything fun. Don't talk shit. Don't celebrate, actually making a good play. Don't do anything. Like, just be a complete robot. They're taking all the fun out of the game and they're turning it into something that I don't think it should be. Like, let people celebrate. You are literally out there just beating the ever-loving hell out of each other. If you have a good play, jump up and chest bump and smack each other on the ass and scream about it. Like, don't.
I knew he was gonna make it gay. Does college still have the rule where if you're like someone's about to score a touchdown and they wave back and taunt the guy at the 5-yard line that they take back the touchdown? You know what I'm talking about?
Probably.
And they'll move it back to wherever he started waving. That's my least favorite thing.
That's another thing. Is that there should be no penalization for taunting.
Yeah.
Taunting is like awesome. It makes the game better. Like, if you get taunted and you freak out and punch a dude, then sure, like, throw the guy out for punching him. But like that adds another dynamic of fun and intrigue and skill. Like, you have to be able to keep your shit together. You can't just lose it and haul off and slug a guy, even if he's insulting your mom or whatever. I can't fathom where it's not like they're mic'd up. It's not like you're like listening to the players. So there's like a concern about the kids or whatever. So I just don't get where the impulse comes to penalize or restrict these things in any way.
I remember the refs missed a Michigan State player like doing a choking sign, which is a taunting penalty in a Michigan game one time, and like the Michigan fan boards were going crazy, like he should have been called for that. And I was like, I'm kind of glad he wasn't. Like, this against my team, but it's like I hate when they call that stuff.
Yeah.
I can get over someone going like this to me because they're not actually doing this to me. So
right. And you know what those things become is they become a vector for, because the enforcement can be kind of arbitrary, they become a vector for outside influence on the outcome of the game. Because when you have lots of different penalties that have a subjective enforcement, then it becomes a very easy way for the officials to have their thumb on the scale and tweak things in one direction or the other. Like in that particular case, throwing that flag and enforcing that on the kick was a significant point in the game.
It made it a 48-yarder.
Yeah.
33 to 48-yarder, yeah.
Right. That's a significant change for something that had zero impact on the game whatsoever.
Well, and typically it's enforced against the defense more so than the offense. They're the ones who usually get flagged for taunting or stuff like that. And like, I mean, that's the way that you get hyped up as a defensive player. Like, you hit somebody and just straight rock their jock, you want to stand over and be like, yeah, bitch, stay down. I mean, it's just the natural instinct. Like, that's what gets you going as a defense. And then they just, get flagged for just playing the game.
It's perfectly normal and good and healthy.
Yeah.
I remember there being
Jerry Jeudy was talking shit to a DB for who was it a few weeks ago, and then the dude just absolutely smoked him for the rest of the game.
Oh, yeah, it was the Raiders.
Yeah, so like, that's great. They did flag Jeudy for talking shit and being a dickhead. Like, why doesn't the offense get treated the same way? And I mean, that's the kind of stuff that creates rivalries within a game and across careers. Like, if those two guys, every time they go head to head, they're jawing at each other and it's like a battle.
Mm-hmm.
That makes for good football. Mm-hmm. Let good football happen.
You're here.
We agree. What all was a part of Greg Williams' bounty gate in New Orleans? Was it all like egregious stuff? I'm trying to remember.
I remember they were going for people's heads.
Yeah, so that's uncalled for.
I think they were like twisting people's legs, like trying to break their ankles and stuff. What else was there? That's all that I can remember being.
Like, made me think of this is like that guy's still coaching. You can't like wave goodbye to someone at the 5-yard line, but this dude's like running a system where he's like getting his players to purposely injure others, and a year later he's back in the league.
Yeah, he got like a brief suspension, and then
yeah,
I don't know how that's not a lifetime suspension.
Yeah, like that seems pretty serious.
Yeah, you see, Pete Rose is he was doing something related to like placing the first ever sports bet for something. Some company was opening up, doing something, and I should probably figure out the details before I bring it up. Pete Rose, MLB World reacts to shocking.
I assume we're all on the side of Pete Rose should be in the Hall, right?
100%.
Okay.
I don't think he was like. I'm pretty sure he was betting on his own team. Like he was betting on himself to win, basically. Like as a manager, like he. I don't think like he wasn't throwing games. He wasn't, point shaving. I don't like as a manager. I don't know how you could do that in a baseball game anyway. Like I don't know, tell everybody to bunt once you get so far ahead. I don't know.
It was he placed the first legal bet in Cincinnati. So Ohio just legalized sports betting apparently, and he's the one who placed the first legal bet.
That's pretty based.
Isn't it funny how now you've got the NFL? So you get Calvin Ridley, who was just traded to the Jags, interestingly enough. Calvin Ridley is suspended for a year for betting on the NFL. By betting on the NFL, it means he was doing stuff on DraftKings. Like he had a DraftKings balance. And I think he was betting on NFL games using DraftKings and like playing daily fantasy sports. And his screen name was Calvin Ridley.
Idiot.
So like he's not trying to hide anything. He's not doing anything nefarious. And I think that the balance in his account was like $1,300. So it was like chump change. And he's suspended. Now, DraftKings is an official fucking sponsor of the NFL.
Of course.
And so is BetMGM. And at every single NFL broadcast you see, they're advertising sports betting. Make it make sense.
How is it not a conflict of interest for the players to play just regular fantasy football? Remember Maurice Jones-Drew several years ago talking about like on a play towards the end of the game, he had a breakaway to the end zone and he stopped at the 2-yard line and took a knee because they needed to run the clock out to get the win instead of like scoring the touchdown. Like, and he talked about it after the game. He's like, I got myself on my fantasy team. Like, I lost my fantasy matchup this week because I took a knee. Like, how is that? Like, that's.
Imagine if he chose gambling. Not to.
Calvin Ridley tried the Michael Jordan route where he retired because of what Calvin Ridley's thing was. He had some things to work through, right? At first. Well, only Michael Jordan couldn't get away with that. He got suspended too for betting on games, but he just retired for a year and a half. I don't know if you guys believe that conspiracy or not.
I was gonna say, are you a believer in that conspiracy?
I believe it.
I tend towards it, yeah.
And what in part of that conspiracy because part of why he was retiring was his dad got killed.
Yeah, there's some
part of the conspiracy was that his dad got killed because of his gambling problems.
That was I believe that completely. It seems very believable to me.
It is November, and that means basketball is about to kick up.
I have watched a few Kyrie clips already, so nothing to do with him on the court, but
it's for different reasons.
I used to watch the NBA a lot back in I watched it with my dad a lot before the Sonics were sold, and then that kind of jaded me against the NBA for a few years. And then in college, we're talking like 2010, 2011, 2012. I was a really big LeBron fan while he was on the Cavs, and followed his career really closely for a few years, and then just started to dislike the NBA altogether. It was just boring, and then I started to hate LeBron, and so now they're talking about like bringing the NBA back to Seattle and stuff, and I don't know. I got interested in the Mariners this year, so maybe I would get interested in the NBA again if the Sonics were back, but I have very little interest.
I was always a big Spurs fan. David Robinson was like my hero, and then Tim Duncan. I loved Tim Duncan. I wore 21 all through high school, and
I hated the fucking shit out of Manu Ginobili.
I did too. He tore the Pistons up one year in the finals. Pistons had a good run from like 2003 to 2008, where they were in the finals like 3 times. So I was a fan during that time span, but then it fell off too.
So I was a big Spurs fan, and then when Duncan retired, I kind of lost interest. Like it didn't have the same.
I actually was a big Kobe fan. Like I always argued Kobe over LeBron.
You and I would have fought.
I hated Kobe, but that was because I was a Spurs fan.
That's fair enough.
Like I can respect the game. I just hated him personally.
And I was a Kyrie fan before he started calling out names.
What's been going on with that? I hear people talking about it, but I don't know what. Like, what's he been doing?
He so he kind of has gotten on the Kanye train.
Oh,
he also like shared he promoted. They say he promoted. He shared like a clip to a video that supposedly has anti-Semitic tropes in it. And of course, he was asked repeatedly at a press conference if he was going to take the tweet down, if he was going to apologize. And at first he held his ground and he wouldn't apologize, and so there was nothing wrong with it. And then they asked him about the time he shared an Alex Jones video, and he wouldn't apologize for that either. He's like, yeah, I shared one from his time when he was like in the 90s about secret societies, and it's all true. And then Steve Nash just recently got fired, quit the team because Steve Nash is a giant cuck, and he didn't want to coach Kyrie anymore. And I think the last thing I've seen on it is they fined him a certain amount that has to go towards Holocaust remembrance stuff. I don't know.
They fined Kyrie?
Yeah. And the whole Nets organization. Or they have to donate a certain amount of money to, let's see. Nets, Kyrie will each donate $500K to anti-hate causes and work with ADL. In wake of his posts.
You want me to pull up the clip where he?
What's the basis? Like, what's the justification for the fines? Is he like violating the player policy or something?
Apparently, I don't know what the movie was. The movie apparently contains anti-Semitic tropes.
Because Adam Silver's a fag.
And a Jew.
That too.
I'm still trying to understand what's the. I mean, obviously they're just making up whatever they want, but like I'm saying, like, what are they making up as the justification for? Is it like part of his contract that he can't promote hate or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know what there has to be a workaround in there somewhere.
Violation of the CBA or something?
I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense because they can do whatever they want.
It's
right.
And the NBA Players Association doesn't really have a whole lot of teeth, so.
Well, yeah, especially they're not going to fight something like that.
Yeah.
Were you pulling up that clip or no?
Oh, I've got it. You never answered, so
go ahead. We've gone off the rails already. Let's watch.
Terry, while we're on the topic of promotion, why did you decide to promote something that Alex Jones said?
That was a few weeks ago. I do not stand with Alex Jones' position, narrative, court case that he had with Sandy Hook, or any of the kids that felt like they had to relive trauma, or parents that had to relive trauma, or to be dismissive to all the lives that were lost during that tragic event. My post was a post from Alex Jones that he did in the early 90s or late 90s about secret societies in America of occults. And it's true. So I wasn't identifying with anything of being a campaignist for Alex Jones or anything. I was just there to post. And it's funny, and it's actually hilarious because out of all the things I posted that day, that was the one post that everyone chose to see. It just goes back to the way our world is and works. I'm not here to complain about it. I just exist.
And to follow up on the promotion of the movie and the book,
Can you please stop calling it a promotion? What am I promoting?
put it out on your platform.
But I'm promoting it. Do you see me in front of
putting it out there,
the
people
title?
are going to say that you are.
Yeah, I put it out there just like you put things out there, right?
Yeah, but
Okay.
It's not
you put
stuff,
things out there for a living, right?
right? But my stuff is not.
So let's move on.
Filled
let's
with
move on.
Anti-Semitic.
Let's
stuff.
move on. Don't dehumanize me up here.
I'm not doing that.
Another
You're
human
free to
being.
post
I can post whatever I want. So say that and shut it down and move on to the next question.
But Kyrie, you have to understand that
I don't have to understand anything from you.
It's not me.
Nothing.
By
It's no people that you're making up, bro. Move on.
But by posting
Move
what
on.
you
Next
did,
question.
anybody
Do
is
you
going
guys
to
have
look
any more
at
questions
it
for
and they're
me?
going to say,
You guys have any more
does he have
questions? Because this is going to be a clip.
beliefs?
This is going to be a clip that he's going to marvel at. Is this any more questions?
But you're not answering the question.
Oh, this is another answering your question. Oh my God, let's make another Instagram clip so we can be famous again. Next question.
Kyrie, basketball related.
Okay, I'm a fan.
You know his thoughts on the shape of the Earth too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It's a smart man.
He's a thinker.
At one point, I thought it was all like just a troll. Like he was just doing it for attention. But I think he's put a lot of time and energy into looking at this stuff, and like,
the fact that he was willing to sit out 41 games last year, or wasn't forced into taking the jab to have to sit out that many games. Like, okay, this guy's got some actual balls.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't paid for them, right?
Correct. That was my understanding.
I can respect that. All right, we can go back to football if we need to.
I finished the document while we were sitting here. The Substack. If you guys want to go to our Substack, clockmanagement.substack.com.
Yeah,
I've got our week 9 picks post put up there. And what's very interesting this week is that there are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 road favorites this week. 9 of the games are road favorites.
Wow.
is that right? Did we both go 13-1 last week?
Yeah. Yep. The one that what one did you miss?
Bengals.
Oh shit! You missed the last game of the week.
I forgot that you picked the Browns. We were kind of surprised by your pick of the Browns, man. I think you were the only one.
Yeah, I was going into Monday riding a 13-0. It's like I'm going to get every single game that we picked right this week, and then the Bengals just completely shit the bed.
Then all of a sudden it's 25-0. Well,
is Hendricks back this week? The D lineman for the Bengals, because that's when it really went downhill. Was when he got jammed up and got hurt, and he came back in the game, but he didn't really play the same after that, and that's where the Bengals suddenly couldn't stop Chubb from running the ball, and once that happened, then the floodgates just opened. Is he like I've been trying to look at stuff and see if there's anything about him, and nothing's talking about him. So if he's hurt, then that would affect the way I view the Bengals going into this week.
I'm searching Twitter to see any mentions of him recently, and I don't see anybody talking about him right now.
I can't find anything either.
His first name's Trey, right? Trey Hendrickson.
I think that's right.
10
I would say they have the Panthers, so it doesn't matter. But the way the Panthers,
well, the Panthers, with Foreman, and they seem to have been a little bit rejuvenated since the whole gutting of the team thing.
Yeah,
and you get that firing of the coach bump too. that always happens. Like teams always seem to ride a 3 or 4 week wave after the coach gets fired. So.
Oh yeah, Chidobe Awuzie is out for the year as well. He's their top corner, tore his ACL. So, yeah, they're not having Jamar Chase makes a really big difference for that offense because they just don't. I mean, any team that's going to lose their top wide receiver is going to struggle, but they just don't have anybody else that replicates what he provides in terms of stretching the defense and just being like a just throw it to him kind of a guy. T. Higgins is that a little bit, but if T. Higgins is your number one receiver, then your offense is going to be fairly limited. He's a great player. He's a very good number two, and he's not that great of a number one. So the offense was really kind of just starting to put it together too. So it's kind of a bummer to see him.
Well, and the same can be said of Tyler Boyd. Like he's a pretty all right number two, but he's not the guy that you want to be your like number two all the time.
Right. He wasn't the number one at Notre Dame, was he?
I don't think so.
He was. I can't remember who he was there with.
He wasn't there with Golden Tate, was he?
I don't.
No, that was Michael Floyd and Golden Tate.
Yeah, I think he was. I want to say he was like a year or two after that.
Okay.
Yeah,
imagine if Cincinnati had a competent offensive line with those weapons they have.
Mm-hmm. I heard a stat today on what's their running back's name? Mixon, yeah. That I think he's like the second worst NFL running back in pass protection and then like one of the worst in yards after contact this year. So he's not generating anything for himself, and the offensive line is terrible, and then he's terrible at blocking. So, and then Samaje Perine is one of the best pass blocking running backs. So that's why he's been getting as much run as he has. But yeah, those AFC North games are always wild because you get the worst team is like the little brother complex kind of, and there's like at least one game every season that those guys they'll show up, and you would just have like the Browns would inexplicably play the Steelers down to the wire when the Browns were going 2-14.
Yeah.
Or the Bengals would upset the Ravens all of a sudden a few years ago when the Bengals were terrible. Just for whatever reason, the AFC South is kind of similar, where the teams will just drag each other down into the mud and beat the shit out of each other. And
that's because they all suck, though.
In part, yeah. But yeah, so the road favorites this week, you've got the Eagles, who are, I don't know if you heard this, Justin, but the Eagles are favored by 2 touchdowns on the road. Then you have the Packers, who are laying 3.5 at the Lions. You have that's kind of a tempting line there. You've got the Chargers favored by 3 at the Falcons. That's another. I don't know about that. You've got the Dolphins favored by 5 at the Bears. Vikings by 3.5 at the Redskins. Bills by 12.5 at the Jets. That's another, I think I would at least take the Jets to cover. Then you've got the Raiders by 1.5 at the Jaguars. I might pick the Jags straight up. And then I think, then the Ravens by 2.5 at the Saints. There's also a lot of really high totals this week. Like I think Rams at Bucks is 42.5. And Panthers at Bengals is 42.5. Vikings at Redskins is 43.5. And Colts at Patriots is 40. Everything else is over 45.
What was that Vikings line again?
The Vikings line is Vikings by 3.5 at the Redskins. Over under is 43.5.
So they're just, that one doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
They're basically,
I don't know. I just feel like the Vikings are going to blow out the Redskins.
Yeah, so they're basically saying that the Vikings are going to win 23.5-20.
Yeah,
I don't see that game being that close.
I don't either.
Maybe the Fighting Taylor Heineke's are
He
he's
is
like-
better than what I give him credit for, I think. But I just don't give him credit for being very good. So,
Right. damning with faint praise.
yeah.
He's like the least toolsy quarterback in the NFL that actually plays half decently. Like, he's small, he's slow, he doesn't have much lateral agility, he's got a little pop gun arm, but he's like a total gamer. He just is. His whole mentality is YOLO out there.
This is the not very athletic white dude on the basketball court.
Yeah, he's like
real gritty.
He's like Chad Pennington, but he thinks he's Brett Favre. It's like the way that he plays.
Well, okay, since we're on that game, let's go ahead and I would like to talk more about this and give my bold prediction. I think I'd take the Redskins straight up in this one. I think the Vikings are slightly overrated. I think they're the best in the NFC North, but not because they're that good, but because the rest of the NFC North has kind of shown itself to suck, especially with the Packers' defense just completely falling apart this season. And you had mentioned it, Matt. You had mentioned it a few weeks ago. The running backs for the Redskins, and they've really seemed to figure out their run game, and I think that allows Heineke to be more of a game manager and not have to be put in a position to lose the game. He can just control the tempo, let those backs do what they do, and kind of dictate the game flow. And I think the Redskins have a good chance to do that against the Vikings, and I think they take the win.
I think one of Heineke's best traits is that he isn't afraid to use the Redskins' best offensive player, who is Terry McLaurin. For whatever reason, Carson Wentz just wouldn't throw the ball to Terry McLaurin. But ever since Heineke has been starting, McLaurin's been like, all of a sudden he's back on the DFS radar. That's how I know that things are going well. And he's actually like a legitimate option each week. His price is climbing, and he's been playing well. And it's really because Heineke will just chuck it at him. Doesn't matter if he's covered. Doesn't matter the game state or whatever. Heineke will just up and chuck it at him. And McLaurin is good enough that he'll come down with it. So, yeah, I like that. I don't know if I would take the Vikings straight up. That's a tough one. I think I would take the Redskins to cover. I think that's where I'll land this week, subject to change by Sunday, but
like a 21-20 type situation.
Yeah, close game where it comes down to a field goal at the end or something like that, because the Vikings like to play down to people. Now here's a potential X factor. The Vikings just traded for TJ Hawkinson.
Oh yeah.
And TJ Hawkinson is an upgrade on Irv Smith. Even I'm an Irv Smith fan, but TJ Hawkinson's an upgrade there. I don't know if it's going to be tight end is like one of the most complicated positions on the field, because you have to understand pass pro, you have to understand run blocking, you have to be able to run routes. It's difficult. So he may not be a full go right away. It may take him a little bit to get integrated. And I also don't know if he's going to be a straight upgrade to the team, or if he's going to be just kind of like a like for like substitution with Thielen. Like, they're not the same role, but they might have the same kind of production. So that's kind of something else to consider here. But yeah, what do you think, Mark?
I'm taking the Vikings straight up, but you guys are the 13-1 guys. So the Vikings are like a really quiet 6-1, and they're probably not like that good. But like we've talked about before, the NFC isn't good. The NFC North isn't good. So Vikings will probably like get the 2 seed in the NFC just by way of competition not being there. But As far as that specific game goes, I just like the Vikings' offensive weapons to put up more than 21, 24 points against the
Did y'all
Commanders.
see the Twitter post? Justin Jefferson hasn't scored a touchdown since week 1.
See, and we're gonna go back to the average here, and he's gonna get a touchdown or 2 in this game.
You got him on one of your fantasy teams?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
We want to talk about Thursday night?
Yeah, let's do that. I got to run here by about 9. So see how many games we can get through between now and then.
Eagles Texans.
Do we even really need to talk about this one?
Probably not. Are the Eagles going to win by 2 touchdowns?
Probably.
Away.
I would say it'll probably be about 2 touchdowns. I don't know that. I was joking earlier, kind of when I said, I might take them to cover that spread. I think it'll probably be 10, like a 27-17 or 33-20, something like that is kind of what I would think. I don't know. It depends on how pissed off Brandon Cooks is that he didn't get traded.
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles, and I think I will take them too. No, I don't know. The Texans and Titans game was pretty close, right? Or no,
Yeah,
it wasn't
17-10.
close. Or it was like 17-0 at one point, and then
But
kind of got junked.
in that, the Titans don't have the type of offense that's built to put up points. They have the type of offense that's built to just beat the fuck out of you and win games like that. So, like the Eagles' offense is built to put points on the board, and the Texans don't seem to be able to stop people from putting points on the board, even when they're like the Titans not trying to put points on the board.
I see like 35-20. So yeah, they're gonna cover it.
Here's the thing with the Eagles. In pace of play, they are in the first half, they're second in the league, second fastest, 26.05 seconds per play. Only Buffalo is faster. In the second half, they are 31st, 31.4 seconds per play. Only Tennessee is slower. So they're running out to a huge lead in the first half, and then they just batten down the hatches and slow everything way down and run it out in the second half. So the fastest teams in the second half, I just wanted to see if Houston would jump there. No, Houston's right in the middle of the pack. So that's why I could see them, putting up like, 3 touchdowns in the first half, going up, 24-7 or something, and then just kind of slowing it way down in the second half. Maybe they kick a couple field goals and score another touchdown. That takes it to 37. Yeah. And then Houston scores 20 points. So that's why it's like right. I think it's right in that range where they may cover. It seems honestly that the spread is set pretty well.
The line makes sense.
Yeah.
Packers Lions. This is another road favorite.
It's interesting to me that this one's set at 49.5, because my expectation would be that this game would play down. It seems like it's 2 offenses that aren't clicking.
Yeah, but neither
team's defense is great.
Neither defense can stop anybody from scoring. So
yeah, that's true.
This could be like
it's in the
shootout
dome.
of the week.
It's in the dome too.
Yeah, this could be like shootout of the week. Like not at all good football, just a whole lot of like terrible defense, and both teams just march up and down the field.
I think I'm looking at the pace of play stats just because I'm on the page right now.
Packers are on 3-game losing streak?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers he's never done that, or it's been like a really long time since he did that?
Yeah, I think like maybe his first year.
And I don't think they played actually too terribly against the Bills. So I'm going to go with the Packers in this game. And I will continue to call for Dan Campbell's firing.
Yeah, if there's one thing you can rely on, it's that the Packers are going to whoop the shit out of the Lions. So I'll take the Packers on this one.
I think I'm going to take the Lions to cover. Let me look at one other thing here real quick before I say that for certain. So Packers 13th overall, 8th best offense by DVOA. They seriously have that? How? Am I in the right year?
You still in 2013?
No, this is 2022. Green Bay, 13th overall in total team DVOA, 8th in offensive. That must be the running game. They must have. Let me look at this here. They must have their running game has been really good.
Jones and Dillon are a pretty impressive two-headed monster. So,
all right. So pass DVOA, Green Bay is 12th. Rush DVOA, Green Bay is 9th. How does 12th and 9th equal 8th? I don't understand this. So, wow. So Green Bay's been better than I thought they have. Maybe I was going to pick Detroit to win straight up, but maybe I can't do that. Detroit's the 10th best offense, 32nd defense. They have been the worst defense. Yeah, okay, so 10th best offense, 8th best offense. Both of them have terrible special teams. Yep, that's the recipe for a high-scoring game. All right, I have completely changed my tune. I'm going to say Packers win. I'll take a Lions cover.
There was once a time when Colts Patriots was an exciting matchup that I see this and I just yawn.
No kidding.
Colts at Patriots.
I wonder who's going to start for the Patriots.
I think it's going to be Mac Jones. I don't know if that's the right decision, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be him.
I'm going to take the Colts.
It's Sam Ellinger, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Patriots.
Yeah, I don't really have a justification for taking the Colts. I don't really think they're going to win, but it just seems like one where something really weird could happen, and the Patriots just have not been a good team.
I don't think rookie quarterbacks fare well against Belichick, so that's my justification for taking the Pats.
Yeah.
I think
On the flip side, they got shredded by Justin Fields. He's not a rookie, but
they did, yeah.
I think the Patriots tumultuous quarterback situation and the Colts have a lot of offensive talent. If they can just get it going behind Ellinger, then I think the Colts.
He's not a rookie either, right?
I don't think so.
He's basically a rookie.
I think the Colts could win this game. I don't dislike that pick.
The Colts are the 32nd ranked offense in the NFL. Damn. How do you get a team with Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman to be 32nd ranked?
I think I said it last week. Matt Ryan almost bounced a swing pass. So, you know, he was literally just throwing the ball to the guy.
You
right
are so
there.
stuck on this. He just hopped it to him.
The ball almost hit the ground. Like the guy had to bend down and catch it below his knees. They're literally 7 yards apart from each other, and he almost hit the ground with it. Like,
and this wasn't one of those things where he had to put it in the right spot because there's a defender in the area. It was all set up for a nice little swing pass.
Right. No matter where the defender is, the right spot is never, mid-shin.
Well, speaking of guys that can't seem to put it in the right spot, I've been disappointed in Justin Herbert this year. He faces off against the Falcons. But this is another road favorite, as they probably should be.
I thought you were making a sex joke when you were talking about guys you can't put it in the right spot. I was trying to figure out where you were going with that.
I was too.
I should have. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like the Falcons in this one. And I think Mariota is acceptable for what they do with that offense. I think the kind of by committee backfield that they've gone with in Cordero Patterson's absence has sort of been moving the chains effectively enough. And the Chargers just seem to do Chargery things. I think they may be the worst coached team. Denver and the Chargers are battling it out. Their coaching staffs for who is the worst this season.
Don't let the Lions off the hook here, man.
So yeah, I think the Falcons will win this one, especially being at home.
Yeah,
I know Magoo says that there's not an actual home field advantage in Atlanta, but I mean, against the Chargers don't have a home field advantage when they're at home either. So they're definitely not taking a home field advantage on the road. Like everything about this seems to favor the Falcons.
yeah, I think that's well put.
Yeah. I think I'm going to take the Falcons. I have nothing else to add to what you just said. I think I had the Chargers at least in the AFC Championship game in our preview show. That's not looking too well right now.
Hey, I picked the Broncos to win the Super Bowl, so you can't do any worse than me.
There we go. So, did you pick that one, Matt? You taking the Falcons too?
Falcons, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What's interesting here is the Falcons are the team that only wants to run the ball, and the Chargers are the worst team against the run. So,
and I think Patterson's back this week.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And Keenan Allen will not be.
Yeah.
So,
Falcons.
Actually, a sneaky for the sports bettors out there. This could be a sneaky under pick because it's over unders at 49.5. But if you think the Falcons are going to win and that they're going to run the ball a lot and that the Chargers aren't going to be able to stop them, then this game's going to go by fast and they may not.
Many possessions.
Yeah.
Dolphins at Bears.
I'm legit excited for this game. This game seems like
it's an interesting matchup. Yeah.
I think that the Dolphins acquiring, so the Dolphins went and got Bradley Chubb, and that's a big deal. And then I think it kind of slid under the radar, but Jeff Wilson is a really interesting pickup for them because he was the starting running back for the 49ers and was very good in that role.
Playing well.
Multiple times over the last few seasons. And then
he wasn't throwing, receiving, and rushing for a touchdown good, but he was good.
Yeah, he got upstage somehow. And now I think this actually makes multiple players better because they have him, and he's better than Chase Edmonds, who they shipped out to the Broncos because the Broncos needed another mediocre running back. And but he knows the system already because he played with Mike McDaniel, and when Mike McDaniel was a coach with the 49ers, and he and Mostert know each other well, and he'll keep Mostert fresh because Mostert's biggest issue has been staying healthy. So now the two of them together can share that load, and ideally it keeps Mostert healthy and makes the running game that much more effective. I think that was a really savvy pickup, and most people haven't really been talking about it.
I'm going to go with the Dolphins too, but I do think the Bears will keep it close, and I like what they're doing with their run game. It's similar to like how Baltimore started off with Lamar, where they just like revolve the entire offense around like a read option. And I feel like that's what the Bears are doing with Fields right now. It seems to be working pretty well for him. But Tua's hit it and Tua's back. He looked good this past week. And like you said, with the running backs with Wilson there, I'm going to take the Dolphins.
And the Bears have traded. The Bears have the 26th defense by DVOA, and they've traded Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith in the last 2 weeks.
That's what I was about to hit on. I don't think it's going to be very close because, I mean, they've effectively gutted the best parts of that defense and it's not like that defense was great to begin with. So, yeah, I think the Dolphins roll through this one.
Yeah, I got them to win cover.
Panthers at Bengals.
Oh, one last note on that. Given that fact, the fact that their offense is kind of starting to click, the Bears, and Justin Fields is starting to look half decent. He's already been, like the last few weeks, he's been like a top 5 fantasy quarterback. And now, if you think the defense is going to be even worse going forward, then he's probably going to be doing even more. So he could be very legitimately could be like a top 3 fantasy quarterback for the rest of the season.
Yeah, those rushing yards for quarterbacks go a long way.
And the narrative surrounding him is very similar to Jalen Hurts last year.
Yeah.
Okay, Panthers, Bengals.
Panthers, Bengals. We sort of talked about both teams already. I'm going with the Bengals in this one. They're at home, and even with Chase out, like you said, Higgins is really good. Boyd's good. I'm waiting for Mixon to have at least like one good game. Maybe he'll get it against the Panthers. But I don't know. I think they bounce back from that ugly loss to the Browns too.
This is my least confident pick of the week. I'm
I was
gonna
just gonna say that.
I'm gonna go with the Bengals, even though I don't feel good about it.
They're at home, Matt.
I just don't know.
He's definitely not taking the 7-point spread here.
Yeah, no, not a chance. I don't know if the Panthers are a bad team right now. They've been a bad team this season, but they just duked it out with Atlanta last week, and they straight up beat the tits off the Bucks. So, are they a bad team?
Giselle brought her tits out of town. Sorry.
And Chuba, Chuba's gonna be back, and
Yeah.
He's talking about
and Foreman
Johnny's.
is a solid. He's a solid running back. So
Mhm. Then the Bengals defense has been pretty good this season. That's the best part of their team. They are, let's see here, defensively, they've got the number 7 pass defense and the number 15 rush defense. Oh, I think that for right now, I'm going to call a Panthers win. And it's subject to change. I may change it to just a Panthers cover. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Bills at Jets. Here's another big line.
I think the line is too big. I think the Jets are better than. I think the Jets are better than that line, but So I'll take the Jets to cover, but I still think the Bills are going to win.
Exactly my thoughts.
I'm going in that direction too.
I
If
think
the
Nyheim
Jets
Hines
had
is an
Brees
interesting
Hall,
addition.
yeah. I think if the Jets had Brees, I think the Brees Hall, Michael Carter combination was like hitting a really good stride, and it's going to take a while for Robinson Carter to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Raiders at Jags. Poor Buck. I'm not picking the Raiders.
Sorry, Buck. What are their?
I just don't know what to think about the Jags right now. So
yeah,
I think the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to be looking for like a bounce back game, and the Jags seem kind of sketchy.
I feel like I think more highly of the Jags than what their 2-6 record would indicate.
The Jags. This is a two bad teams pick the home team spot for me. Just for the record, though, Jags have the 15th offense, 20th defense, 11th special teams. Raiders have the 20th offense, 29th defense, 14th special teams. So the Jags have the edge on all 3 phases of the game, but they're both bad teams.
Did I hear correctly? The Raiders didn't cross into whoever they were playing last week,
Saints.
into their opponent, the Saints, territory until late in the fourth quarter of that game.
Yes.
You got Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr, Darren Waller on your team. I don't know if McDaniels is the guy.
Yeah. I know that Derek Carr ain't the guy.
Yeah. I'm pretty certain on that too. Seahawks at Cardinals. Or did you pick that, Justin?
Yeah, I said I was taking the Raiders.
Seahawks, Cardinals.
How are the Cardinals favored in this game? The Cardinals aren't good.
That's kind of what I was wondering.
I
feel like they get a Cliff Kingsbury / Kyler Murray bump. Like people are still kind of high on them when they shouldn't be. They're overrated.
What this really says is that Vegas doesn't believe in the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Because the Seahawks are number 6th in total DVOA in the league, 7th offense, 11th defense, 9th special teams. And the Cardinals are number 30th in the league, 26th offense, 19th defense, 27th special teams. They're like, it might be the widest gap between two teams for the entire week.
Yeah, I'm
picking
going
Seahawks then.
Now it's a division game, and the Glendale is a fucking house of horrors for the Seahawks. They've had just some of the most god awful games there. That's where the Super Bowl was, where Russ threw the pick. That's where Richard Sherman tore his Achilles. That's where Earl Thomas blew out his knee or whatever and flipped off Pete Carroll going off the field. That's they had the worst football game I've ever seen, a 6-6 tie.
Gross.
against the Cardinals with like 4 missed field goals in the last like 4 minutes of overtime, or fast 4 minutes of regulation and overtime. So that's a nasty things happen to the Seahawks in Arizona. But it seems to me this Seahawks team is different than past Seahawks teams. So yeah, I'm going to take a Seahawks win.
As we both alluded to earlier, we said we were never going to pick the Bucks, but I am picking the Bucks to beat the Rams.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think we need to delve into that one any more deeply than y'all already did. I'm going to go with the Bucks on that one too.
I got to say, I think they're going to cover. I hate 3-point spreads because it just, I don't know. I want 3.5 or I want 2.5. I don't want 3, but yeah, I'm going to say they cover.
Titans at Chiefs. Chiefs 12.5 point favorites.
That's another spread that I think is a little too much.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they won by that much, but it's kind of similar to what we were talking about with Philadelphia and Houston. I can see the Chiefs getting out to a big lead.
It strikes me as like the Chiefs will win by 10.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I would put it. Because I think that the Chiefs' run defense is terrible, and their defense is terrible in general. And Derrick Henry's just fucking rolling right now. So I think that the Titans are going to be able to put up points, but they just won't be able to keep up.
Is it Willis?
That's a good question, actually. I completely forgot about that.
Because he did play against the Texans, correct?
And
I
they're
didn't watch
terrible.
any of that game.
Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill are listed on the injury report. They're both limited in Wednesday's practice. KC Chiefs uncertain if they'll face Tannehill or Malik Willis. Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill says ankle pain biggest challenge. So he's just trying to play through pain. That strikes me, so probably play.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they only threw the ball 10 times against Houston, ran the ball 45 times for 314 yards. I mean, if it's Willis, you're not going to be able to run that offense against the Chiefs for an entire game and expect to win.
So Tennessee's the 22nd ranked offense, 10th ranked defense. Kansas City's the number 1 ranked offense, number 24 ranked defense. So that strikes me as strength against strength is Tennessee's defense against Kansas City's offense. Weakness against weakness is Tennessee's offense versus Kansas City's defense. So I think that Kansas City will put up points, but they won't blow them out. And Tennessee will put up points, but they won't be able to keep up. That's kind of how it strikes me. So it strikes me as being like a 23-14 kind of a game.
You got to bring up your question you asked me, Justin.
What question did I ask you?
We're in a standard fantasy league, and you asked me if you should start Mahomes or Tua this week. And I feel like if you have Mahomes, you start Mahomes, even if they're playing a good defense.
I get that. But I just think that the Bears defense is so gutted that there's a chance Tua really goes off, whereas the Titans defense is not bad by any means. So, it could be a take the lead and cruise. Don't have to run up the score kind of a game. So that's why I'm on the fence about Tua or Mahomes. But I'm not on the fence as far as this game goes. It's Chiefs will win, Titans will cover.
I have a super flex league that I'm in, super flex dynasty league, and my quarterbacks this year are Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and Patrick Mahomes. And it's actually not as fun as it sounds, because that's a very difficult decision to make from week to week.
Yeah,
because all 3 of them have had down
all
games.
3 of those guys.
I bought Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
It's a salary cap league,
Gotcha.
and he had a gigantic salary, so the guy was trying to get rid of him, and I was the only team who had space for him. And I just assumed I'd buy him and flip him, and I've just been too busy to get back to actually trying to work out a deal. So, and I'm bad this year, so I'm hoping to flip one of them. Anyways, nobody cares about my fantasy team.
Well, I started it. Ravens at Saints.
This is probably going to be out. Andrews is dinged up. Gus Edwards probably won't play. There's only so far that the Ravens offense can go with just Lamar Jackson running for his life and then throwing the ball to whoever's closest to him before he gets killed. And the Saints, Kamara looks to be healthy. The Andy Dalton-led offense doesn't seem to be terrible. I think this one's got a good and it's at New Orleans. That's a hell of a place to go, especially a hell of a place to go when you aren't playing super well anyway, which the Ravens have not been playing super well all year. I'm going to take the Saints on this one.
Last week you disrespected poor Andy Dalton. And now you're riding with him. Riding with the red rifle. I'm going with the Ravens in this one, and I don't really have any numbers or justifications to back that up. It's just a feeling thing.
Every time I hear the name Red Rifle, I think of the term Red Rocket, and I think of my dog's penis. And it just
that's
real
a problem,
unpleasant.
mate.
Can someone please just clip that? And I think of my dog's penis.
That is the promo.
What kind of show is this?
That is the promo to get people to tune in on Wednesdays.
Clock management. Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central.
Where we start 48 minutes after we say we're going to start. End up talking about Kyrie and the tiny hat people and dog penises. And
This kind of looks like I got this little bit of hair that's hanging down back here. I'm talking about the tiny hat people. Kind of like dangle that off my
You can't see it. I've got some
Justin, you didn't tell me
sideburn.
it was one of them.
I've got some sideburn hairs that keep trying to do the curly thing. I'm gonna have to cut them off. It's getting
Yeah.
I keep thinking it'll just smooth down, and it just keeps getting more curly. I'm like, nope. Gotta.
You probably got to burn them off.
Try. What if there are 6 million hair follicles?
I'll take the Saints straight up. They're a much worse team, but the Ravens are gutted, and the Saints are at home. Saints offense is clicking right now. Their defense isn't too bad. 12th ranked defense, 19th ranked offense, 30th ranked special teams, and the Ravens have the number 1 special teams. Number 2 offense, number 17 defense, number 1 special team. So I think that number 2 offense is probably, I think that's weighting a lot of the earlier part of the season because they've been a lot worse lately. But yeah, like you said, if this was at Baltimore, I'd take the Ravens, but it's in New Orleans, so I'll take the Saints.
And that's the slate. Unless I forgot one like I did last week.
Nope, that was all of them.
That's it.
And I got a jet, so.
Yeah, my wife is texting me. Are you coming to bed?
No.
You got to talk football.
Oh, I was going to see if you had any thoughts on the college football playoff committee, Justin, or you.
That's my sign. That's my cue to sign off.
I mean, if you got thoughts on it too.
I know absolutely nothing about it. I don't follow it at all.
You have any plugs, or you got no plugs to give before you peace out, Matt?
No, I don't have any. You can follow me on Twitter, but I don't tweet anymore. So. I have a specific like sports Twitter, but I'm keeping those worlds separate.
That's probably smart.
This is all Matt.
People can look back through your archive of tweets, unless you deleted those.
I don't think I did. So if you went back far enough, you might be able to find some crossover there. But that'd be some fucking digging. I'd be impressed.
Yeah.
This is all right. Matt does anymore. He's all clock management and sports ball. Like no,
that's right.
None of the rest of that shit.
See you
later. Yeah, I don't know. As far as thoughts on the first round of college football rankings, I don't put a lot of weight in them. I think it's usually the usual suspects kind of thing because they don't know what else to do, and then this gives them a starting point to round the rest of the season out based off of. It's kind of a fucked up rig system, I guess, to some extent. And it's I'm sure there are a lot of politics that go into play in it, and I don't put a whole lot of weight in week 1.
But yeah. Last week, you and Migler were talking about what these rankings would look like, and I said I was pretty sure that Tennessee would be 1 based off a body of work. I thought that they would make Georgia 2. That set up a nice 1 versus 2 matchup this week, but they put the stupid Buckeyes at 2, which is dumb. I mean, Buckeyes they beat Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's not good. Like, they're putting a lot of weight into this Notre Dame win, I think. But I am more mad about Michigan being 5 and underneath Clemson. I think Michigan is definitely the better team than Clemson. I understand Michigan's non-conference was bad, but they earned that number 4 spot. I'm not too mad about it, though. Like you said, Michigan wins out. They're in. If they do lose to Ohio State, I don't think there's any chance that they get in like a situation with Georgia last year, unfortunately.
Yeah, probably not.
And then Bama at 6 is ridiculous. TCU should be at 6.
Yeah, Bama this year is not Bama of the past 5 years. I think it's a different.
Yeah, I think I'm actually picking Bama to lose to LSU at LSU this weekend.
I don't think LSU's that good, but
it's a night game in Death Valley.
Yeah, that's always tough sledding. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be the college football season has started. Basically, is the way the first week of bowl rankings or the playoff rankings go. So
it'll be interesting to see if it kind of increases the intensity when they up it to 12.
yeah,
Because you have a lot more teams knowing that they're in. Like you have the number 7 team, like obviously number 6, 7 team, obviously the top 4, like they know by this point in the season they're going to be in the playoff and a 12 team playoff. So then it's going to be more intense with like the 10 through 20 teams.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. All right, give me your plugs.
Oh, fact check this podcast the morning after. Peddling fiction from time to time. That's about it.
markmetz.substack.com.
Oh yeah, I've got a Substack too. I forget about that.
Justin Substack. Subscribe to that. Find it somewhere. Fact check.
CampbellJ.substack.com.
All right. See ya.
Later.